a series by AnyTechTrial to get you deep insights from the person of stature themselves. We talk to all the notable people in the industry to get you notable information in this notable show. We have with us Hatla, the CEO and the co-founder of uQualio, a learning management and edtech platform. A place to put out your content videos, learn from them, and connect with the admin personally, and even evaluate your level in the study. It also expands up to team management and learning micromanaging. There's a lot to explore. So, hi Hatla, a little birdie told us that you were vacationing. So we really want to know, how does a CEO vacation? How does your luxury vacation look like?
It wasn't very luxurious. We went to Italy because my parents have a house and they have olive trees. And when you work a lot with computers, doing something completely different is lovely. So we were actually harvesting olives. And all the local people are looking at us like we're morons and silly, because why would you want to do it by yourself? Why don't you hire workers? But standing in front of a tree, actually brushing it, taking off the olives is the most relaxing, non-brain work that you can. It's good for, getting, yeah, exactly. And that's needed every now and again.
Trust me, with the world going digital, especially during the pandemic, a digital detox, especially if you're a CEO like you, is mandatory.
Exactly. So it was non-tech farming.
Yes, non-tech farming for you. Something not related to your work.
And then of course with a couple of spa trips to the thermic. So lots of relaxation. It was very nice, and the weather was super.
So we think that you are a nature person. Do you love nature? Tell me.
I love nature. That's where I get energy. So I love the combination of technology and it stimulates my brain to just look at green stuff.
It is relaxing indeed. But do you get this love for nature from childhood, or is it a newfound?
Yes, I'm raised on a farm.
Oh, we were raised on a farm. Oh, yes. We see that.
We actually own 2 farms at the same time. So our office is on a farm as well. That's the advantage of being in tech, is that all our customers are spread all over the world. So it doesn't really matter where we are as long as we have a good connection.
So while the world work from home, you work from a farm. That's interesting. I think it's very unusual for a CEO.
Yeah, but it's that's the advantage of being the CEO and co-founder, is that you can actually decide how you want your life to look and the company you own and drive.
Well spoken indeed.
And it fits our life. And the truth is that we're on a farm, but we're 25 kilometers from the main the main square in Copenhagen. So we're right outside of Copenhagen on the tube. So
all right, is this in the countryside?
Yes. But it's 25 kilometers from the central square of Copenhagen.
All right. I wish to visit that someday.
You'll have to come and visit.
Sure, one day for sure. Why did the coach in you tell you to make a platform like uQualio? We really want to know about the journey.
Because that was what I needed while I was working, and it wasn't there. And when one of the things that you do sometimes when you work with other people and in other people's companies, then you see things that are missing. And we discovered that I did internal communication for IBM, and on Fridays every 2 weeks, management sent out an email to everybody telling what was happening. And it was during the merger of IBM after they bought PwC Consulting. And what happened was that we sent out emails from internal communications, and we never knew if people actually saw the video. Saw the email and understood the content. And as everybody was consultants, they sometimes, the worst part was actually one day when we were moving offices, and email communication went out explaining that we were now moving, and that everybody had to move their things into boxes because, Tuesday, the whatever day, they would come and get the boxes and move them to another office. And it turned out that quite a few wasn't reading their emails from management, with the result that there was quite a few boxes that had to be, the tables weren't cleaned, so the movers couldn't move the boxes. Imagine if we had a system where this communication was actually sent out on email, but with a video where the CEO or the management explained what it was that you needed to do. After they'd sent it out, they would actually know whether people saw the video, even opened the invitation, saw the video, and whether they understood, okay, Monday morning at 2:00, and they've even confirmed it on writing that they actually know that they were moving. Mm-hmm. That would have been brilliant. So we could have used it in IBM when I was there. Then I worked for Novo Nordisk, and I was the executive assistant of the vice presidents running the pharmaceutical production, and we also had a lot of communication going out on strategies, on balanced scorecard, on quarter things, and we never knew whether people actually participated or didn't participate, whether they understood that they had to do things differently. Part of being in management is a change management task of moving people from one section to another, and not knowing if people ever saw and understood what you were saying actually gave us quite a lot of problems. So I could really have used a platform like what we do now. I could have used that in my work. My partner is he's worked in software, and he could have used the platform too. Working with software, what often happens is that when you onboard software developers, it's the available person that onboards the next one. But very often the one that has the most time is not necessarily the best one. And so very often what happens is that you start out with having a person that actually knows exactly what they're doing, and then they teach somebody. Then this person teaches somebody else what to do, and then they teach somebody else what to do. And if they had recorded the first person that actually really knew what they were doing, they would make sure that what the next ones were doing was exactly the right thing, instead of it being what the next one remembered. So, and then we looked at when you look at a lot of learning management systems, they're relatively complex, and it takes a lot of skills and knowledge, to make learning paths and I don't know, whatever it's called. And we said, but listen, when you train people, it is super important that it's actually the person that knows what to do that is training. And since this person is very often busy, why not just record it? Making e-learning doesn't have to be complicated, because you normally say that a picture says more than 1,000 words, but honestly, a video, because a 1-minute video consists of so many pictures, it actually says more than 3 million words. So instead of trying to write down what people are supposed to do, why don't you show them? And nowadays, with the smartphones we have, making a recording is super easy, whether it's you and me sitting here talking on each side of the world, or whether it's with a handheld phone that you record. So we kind of thought, why not make an e-learning light on our platform? Everything you can do is base a course on a video. You have to have a video to make a course. You can add supplementary extra fact sheets or manuals or whatever, but it's the video that guides what the content is about. And that means that you can actually make content about anything. So we have customers using the platform for teaching retail assistants what their product does and how it works. We've got people using it for support, how do you disassemble things. We've got other people using it for sales partner training, onboarding of new employees, all kinds of things, because it's literally the video that decides the content. And then we've added a quiz layer to the video, and the reason for the quiz is, first of all, because people actually like testing the new gained knowledge, and secondly, the more times you repeat the knowledge that you got, the better people remember it. And one of the things that you have to do when you make trainings is that you have to beat the forgetting curve. Ebbinghaus wrote about it, and the thing is that if a new knowledge is not repeated again and again, then you forget. So therefore,
Yes.
seeing the video first, answering questions about it, make sure that the new gained knowledge is actually transferred down the brain into your hands in order for you to remember. And then at the end, after having seen all the videos, then you get a final test, and that test gives you a badge, and that badge can be shared on social media, or it can be used to document to authorities. We've got people using it for compliance, GDPR courses, and airport safety, that all the employees have been trained. So as I said, it's very much the content of the video, and since more or less nowadays anything can be put on video, it's super easy to train people. And to be honest, we have a second thing that is really important, and that is one of the things I've learned in my life working is that happiness spreads. So if I can make a platform that enable people to do a good job, then they go home smiling. If they go home smiling, they'll smile to their wife and their kids. And chances are they will smile back to their friends. They will even smile to the dog or the cat, and that will be happy as well. So this thing of making sure that people actually know, that it is an easy way to make people happy and content.
EdTech has skyrocketed, with e-learning becoming the new norm and the norm of COVID. It has been accelerated like never before. So do you think it is the winner-take-all market for EdTech right now?
Yes, the market for EdTech, of course, it is rising because everybody has realized we can't travel as much as we did, and going forward, nobody will ever again, I think. Why would you go and train a shop in a product if you can actually put it on a video and then train them directly? It doesn't really make sense. It's a waste of people's time. And then at the same time, if I go to the shop and you're not there because you're ill or you have a child sick or whatever, that means that I'll have to go there again to train you. And if you put it on video, you can just see it from home afterwards. So it's so much easier. That's one thing. The second thing is I also think that that the advantage of the COVID period is that we've realized that some of the old methods that we used were actually not very they're outdated.
Truthful.
Yeah. So they're outdated. So a classroom training is very often 45 minutes. The brain recent brain studies show that the brain cannot keep focused for 45 minutes. So breaking things down in small bites instead, in what is called bite-sized learning, is super important, because that makes your brain remember far easier. So a lot of these technologies and new knowledge has, because of the corona situation, been able to show the path for completely new things, and that's really lucky. And that's very lucky, because that means that hopefully our world will become, even better. Sometimes when you run in the spinning wheel again and again, you continue doing the same thing instead of actually, taking a break, looking at what is it that you're doing. Is this smart? No, it's not very smart. Okay, why are we doing it? Well, we've been doing it for 200 years. Okay, is this the best way to do it? No, it's not. We just do it because it's tradition. Okay, could we do smarter? Yes, we can. So maybe it's the time to introduce it.
And how would EdTech companies astutely figure out their product market fit?
Scandinavia, where Denmark is placed, has a very strong learning and school tradition. And I think one of the things that symbolize the Scandinavian way is it's relatively democratic. So in quite a few school systems, you're taught how to learn things. So you'll learn how to recite things or other things. In the Danish school system, it's very often a little bit different, in the sense that it's more based of training you to get knowledge yourself. So it's more about the methods of learning than it's actually the content. And maybe that's actually also why we're doing uQualio like we're doing, because we kind of believe that you're the specialist. So very often people think that they need to go to a specialist to be told what to do right. But if you know how to do a job, chances are you're as good a specialist as any specialist.
All right.
So
All right.
so that's a difference. And then we know that everybody has to be part of the education. The reason why we developed to such an extent that we did was based on the fact that already very, very early after the Renaissance, people found out that the importance of everybody being educated was very, very, very relevant. And we're seeing that today. If you look at the FN SDG, the FN targets for how to improve the world, if you look at the reasons why education should be higher, it is based on the fact that if people are educated, they have less children's disease, children survive longer, less starvation, more richness, etc. So, we cannot teach the world enough. We cannot make sure that the world is enough educated. So, and that's from our belief, that's actually part of the most important thing in the world to make it a richer and better world is to make sure that people are educated enough so that they go home and smile to their wife and children instead of going home beating them up or whatever they would do if they're unhappy.
In history, so in the 1990s, what happened was people were discovering the internet. Yes, and lots of internet companies were happening. What happened was valuation of these companies became so high, and then boom, suddenly the stock market fell out. Now, again, the cycle is repeating. All these investors are having FOMO, and they want to invest in tech companies because of the corona situation. Do you think it's a financial bubble which will burst ultimately, or do you fear this, or do you think the history will not repeat itself this time?
I think it's super difficult to know exactly. Of course, I'm not a researcher or a scientist investigating this, but I do think that there will be bubbles around. But as for EdTech, I don't think it's a bubble. And the reason why I don't think it's a bubble is that everybody knows that the more educated people are, the more they actually feel that they're responsible for their own lives. They know how to be happy and satisfied. And as this is part of the really primary ways of making sure that the fundamentals of a society is working, and now we have a means to actually more or less move into every part of the world to educate them. That means that the EdTech is going to stay. There might be other more old-fashioned ways of training and I think, to be honest, I think the plane sector, the airplanes, the travel sector is going to decrease or become smaller after this, because a lot of people has realized why should I meet, I don't need to go to India to talk to you in this interview. We just sit here with a web camera and we're actually having a really nice conversation. So why there's a lot of things that you won't do anymore. You won't travel as much as you did. You'll go on holidays, but there's no reason to go to India for half a day's meeting. Why would you do that when you could do it on the waste of time and efforts and the CO2 and all the it's bad. So this thing that you can actually do a lot of things differently. I think there will be industries like EdTech that is booming a lot because this will be, it cannot supplement the classroom, the contact between the teacher and the pupil. But some of the parts of the training that is, the repetition of what's in the books, etc. There is no reason why you should meet up to discuss that in class if you can do that in a video training. Then you can take the questions and answers and the practical experiments. Use the classroom training for that. That would generate far more knowledge, and that means that the students can train at home for what is in the books, and then actually use the time with the teacher at a much more qualified level. So it's changing the way we're doing things, and I to be honest, I hope that it's changing to a better level.
We're using SaaS technology, that is SaaS technology. Now it's a strangely old concept, and it's coming back in the trends. Now SaaS seems to have taken on a massive, unprecedented growth now. So how sustainable do you think this growth is post the pandemic?
I think it's super sustainable. I think a lot of people, especially in the pandemic, subscription as a service or software based on subscription as a service is a lot more affordable than if you have to pay a license from the start. An example, during the pandemic, having to pay front up on a huge legacy LMS system, for instance, is maybe people don't have the funding for it. Where with subscription as a service, the monthly level is much lower. So I think it's coming. It's come to stay. We tried. There are some subscription as a service, at least in Denmark, where you're lured into software and you can't get rid of it again. And we've kind of decided that we don't want to make software that we can't vouch for. So we make it relatively easy to sign out, and you only pay for the active users that you use, literally, because it shouldn't be a trap that you're lured into with a never-ending possibility to get out. So, but I think it's come to stay, because literally it's much less expensive than buying licenses upfront, and especially for the smaller companies. And that's one of the things that we've decided to target with our platform, or with our e-learning platform, because there are so many bigger companies that are super expensive and they make very complex systems, and you have to start out with reading a book with PDF explanations of how to do stuff. And what we kind of believe is, okay, but what you don't need to be an expert. If you can film the knowledge that you want to transfer, you can do it to either your customers or your employees or your sales partners, and then relatively easy you can make sure that they have the stories to tell in the other end. And that's why we do subscription as a service. That, on the other hand, also means that people have to move into, for instance, a platform like ours by themselves. There's we support, of course, but people have to try it out themselves first. And the reason for this is, if we do our job well, then the platform should be so easy that people can actually onboard without having to talk to us. And that also means that they can sign up and sign off exactly like they want to. Yes, no problem at all. We're cloud-based, of course, Amazon cloud-based. So which means that we can scale to any size depending on people's needs. And then we have a responsive platform that we've built ourselves on Angular. And unfortunately, I'm not the tech super proficiency here. But there's quite a lot of other things that we use, but it's basically on Angular.
How do you see AnyTechTrial supporting the SaaS community? Or kindly let us know your thoughts about this.
I think a lot of scale-up or startup companies, the biggest problem is actually, I know for us at least, one of the biggest problems is actually explaining what we do, so people can see whether what we offer as a service can help with their pains in their business. So by doing what you're doing right now, you're actually helping, because spreading the word of making it easy to figure out what it is people are doing, that's actually the best we can ask for. We have, for instance, a problem with uQualio that we're not a super huge LMS system like some companies want, that are that can handle very learning path, etc. We can without problems handling a learning path, but some of them are much more complicated than ours. But we're far more than a video management platform. So we're somewhere in between, and we call it video e-learning, or video micro-sized or bite-sized video e-learning. If you're a big company, and you want to stay a big company, then you go out, you have a sales function that does a lot of long-term sales processes. We are not catering to long-term sales processes. We have a system where you can onboard by yourself, and that actually requires that people, look into, could this be useful for us? So what you do is perfect, because you explain what we do, and then people can go in and try it themselves.
What it's like to be a CEO of a company in a male-dominated industry. I bet there are not many tech CEOs out there.
It's fun. right now there's a lot of focus on female tech founders. So of course to be honest, it gives us a lot of tailwind and a lot of extra interviews and things. And being a tech startup that is in the process of making sure that everybody knows us, getting media attention and is super useful. But also from I think solutions are based on engineers making software based on engineering, ways of working. And engineers are super smart, intelligent, brilliant people that knows how to calculate. But very often their ability to communicate is a little less. We know this from our company, where the engineering part and the more communication part, which for instance I represent, we actually need each other in order to make it easy to understand what it is that we're doing. And very often the licks or the complexity level rises with the IT developers. And so being a female tech founder, with a communication perspective actually really helps, because I actually really try to make it easy for people to understand what it is that we're doing, so that you don't have to feel like you're a complete moron. And like I say to them, listen, guys, I'm sorry, I'm not particularly smart, so you have to help me. You have to explain what it is that you're doing, so that I can explain it on to somebody else. And then they're like, but isn't it obvious? And it's like, no, it's not obvious. It is. But now you've explained it, I think we should change the wording to something that people understand.
Are you ready for a small rapid fire round?
We'll try it out.
All right. Yes, that's the spirit. All right. So let's get started. It's rapid fire, okay? So you have to answer very quickly. Favorite CRM software?
HubSpot.
All right. Favorite antivirus?
Norton.
Favorite webinar platform? Fire.
Zoom. Sorry. Zoom.
Favorite productivity tool?
uTrack.
Favorite skill?
Courage.
Favorite tech jargon?
Compliance.
Favorite part about your job?
Meeting new people.
All right. Give one word for. You have to give one word for whichever word which comes in your mind. All right. Say skill.
Languages.
Time.
Too little.
Money.
Useful.
Hard work.
Necessity.
Power. Yeah.
Yes, I get it. Something to be handled with extreme care.
Employees.
Capable.
You.
Ambitious.
Smartly answered. Indeed, you are ambitious. That's why you are the CEO of the company here. And it was indeed a wonderful interview to talk to you. And come and join us again in AnyTechTrial, the NotableTalks series. We'll continue the conversation someday later. And thank you for having us, and thank you for giving your time.
It was a pleasure to meet you, and let us know if you have any other questions at some stage.